Anytime somebody gives me something for songwriting, like Songwriting Hall of Fame.
For decades, Toby Kieth thrilled fans with his bold songs, unforgettable performances, and larger-than-life personality. From packed stadiums to small-town fairs, his voice carried confidence, pride, and raw emotion that connected deeply with millions of people. To the world, he was the fearless cowboy of country music, a man who never backed down, never softened his stance, and never apologized for who he was. But behind the stage lights, the booming speakers, and the roaring crowds, there was a very different story unfolding. A story filled with private pain, quiet generosity, controversial choices, and emotional battles that few people ever truly understood. After his death, those hidden chapters began to surface, and what they revealed shocked even his most loyal fans. Toby Kieth was not born into fame. He grew up in Oklahoma, surrounded by oil fields, long roads, and hard-working people who taught him resilience early in life. His grandmother owned a supper club, and that's where music first entered his blood. Watching bands play live, seeing people laugh, dance, and forget their worries for a few hours left a deep impression on him. Long before chart-topping hits, Toby worked hard labor jobs, including time in the oil industry, where danger and exhaustion were part of daily life. That experience shaped his worldview. It gave him a thick skin, a strong sense of pride, and a belief that hard work mattered more than approval. When he finally broke into country music in the early 1990s, that background followed him into every lyric he wrote. His rise was fast, but not easy. Early success brought money and recognition, but it also brought pressure. Toby learned quickly that fame comes with expectations. Fans wanted strength, labels wanted hits, media wanted opinions. And Toby, never one to stay quiet, gave them exactly that. His songs spoke plainly, sometimes aggressively, and often emotionally. He didn't write to please critics. He wrote for people who felt unseen, unheard, and unrepresented. That honesty made him beloved by millions, but it also planted the seeds for controversy that would follow him for the rest of his career. One of the biggest storms of his life came from a feud that no one ever expected to grow so large. What started as disagreement between artists quickly turned into a cultural divide. The clash with the Dixie Chicks placed Toby at the center of a national argument about patriotism, freedom of speech, and the role of artists in political moments. Suddenly, he wasn't just a musician anymore, he was a symbol. People projected their beliefs onto him, praised him, criticized him, and sometimes attacked him for what they thought he represented. Toby felt misunderstood, but he refused to retreat. He believed his music was born from sincerity, not hatred. Still, the emotional toll of that feud followed him quietly, even as he continued performing night after night. As his fame grew, so did his business ventures. Toby wasn't content with only music. He wanted to build something bigger, something lasting. That vision led to the creation of his restaurant chain, I Love This Bar and Grill. At first, it felt like an extension of his personality, loud, welcoming, patriotic, and full of life. Fans flocked to the restaurants, enjoying the atmosphere, the music, and the sense of connection to the artists they loved. For a while, it worked. Locations expanded, crowds grew, and Toby felt proud of what he had created. But behind the scenes, the business was far more complicated than it appeared. Managing a large restaurant chain required contracts, partners, leases, and decisions that quickly spiraled beyond Toby's direct control. When problems began to appear, they appeared fast. Locations closed suddenly, employees were left confused, landlords complained, lawsuits followed. And once again, Toby's name was everywhere, tied to something that felt like it was falling apart. The public rarely saw the details. They saw headlines, and those headlines weighed heavily on him. What hurt most wasn't the financial loss, it was knowing that people were disappointed. People who trusted his name, people who worked hard under the brand he created. Toby took that personally. Even when advisors told him to stay quiet, to let lawyers handle things, he carried the emotional weight himself. Fame had taught him that perception often mattered more than truth, and that lesson never sat comfortably with him. While the world focused on his controversies, few noticed that Toby was fighting another battle entirely, one that didn't involve headlines or critics. His health began to change. At first, it was subtle: fatigue, discomfort, moments of weakness he brushed off as exhaustion from touring. Toby had always pushed through pain. That's what he knew how to do. Canceling shows felt like failure. Letting fans down was unthinkable. So he kept going, even when his body begged him to slow down. Eventually, the truth could no longer be ignored. The diagnosis came quietly, behind closed doors, away from cameras: stomach cancer. The word alone carried fear, uncertainty, and a sense of finality. Toby chose privacy. He didn't want sympathy. He didn't want to be seen as weak. He wanted to be treated the same way he'd always been: a man who showed up, delivered his music, and walked off stage with his head held high. Treatment was brutal. Long days, physical pain, emotional exhaustion. And yet he still found ways to smile in public, to reassure fans, to keep moving forward. Behind that strength was a man leaning heavily on his family. His wife and children became his safe place. Away from the noise, Toby cherished simple moments more than ever. Sitting quietly, talking late into the night, remembering life before fame complicated everything. He began to reflect deeply about mistakes, about things he wished he had said differently, about moments he wished he could relive. Fame had given him much, but it had also taken time, energy, and privacy. Those realizations didn't come with regret so much as acceptance. As his illness progressed, Toby became increasingly thoughtful about what he would leave behind, not just money or music, but meaning. That mindset explained what would later be discovered after his death. His garage, a place no one ever paid attention to, quietly held the most honest version of who he was. Inside were boxes filled with handwritten notes, letters, lyrics, and journals. Pages of thoughts he never shared publicly, fears he never voiced, gratitude he never announced. Reading them revealed a man far softer, more reflective, and more emotionally open than the public ever knew. There were journals filled with late-night reflections about life and death, notes about missing his parents, about worrying whether he had done enough good, about hoping his children would remember him not as a celebrity, but as a father who loved them deeply. There were also letters written to people he had helped quietly over the years: veterans, families struggling with medical bills, individuals who had written to him once, never expecting a response, only to receive help without conditions. Toby never wanted recognition for these acts. He believed kindness lost its value when it became a performance. Among the most emotional discoveries were unfinished songs, lyrics scribbled on loose paper, some hopeful, some sorrowful, some deeply personal. These weren't stadium anthems, they were quiet conversations with himself. Songs about fear, about forgiveness, about letting go. Songs that showed a man coming to terms with his mortality, not with anger, but with honesty. Those pages changed how people understood his music. Suddenly, the bold voice carried deeper meaning. The confidence carried vulnerability. Toby Keith was never a simple figure. He was complex, contradictory, and deeply human. He could be loud and gentle, proud and uncertain, strong and afraid. That duality defined his life. Publicly, he stood tall. Privately, he questioned, reflected, and sometimes struggled. The secrets that emerged after his death didn't tarnish his legacy, they completed it. They showed the full picture, not just the icon, but the man behind the microphone. Fans who revisited his music after learning these truths heard it differently. Lyrics once dismissed as bravado now felt like armor. Songs about strength sounded like survival. Pride felt like protection. His life became a reminder that people often perform strength when they are carrying the heaviest burdens. Toby didn't write music to dominate conversations. He wrote music to endure them. In the end, what shocked the world wasn't controversy or scandal. It was compassion. It was the depth of care he showed quietly, without cameras. It was the honesty of his private thoughts. It was the realization that behind one of country music's loudest voices was a man who felt deeply, loved fiercely, and gave generously without asking for credit. Toby Keith's true legacy lives not only in his songs, but in the lives he touched when no one was watching. And that is the story that stayed hidden until the very end.